This week, the Victorian Supreme Court was told that gangland boss Carl Williams was supplying information to police before his death, in particular about a murder. 15 jurors have heard detailed evidence about the deal Williams negotiated with police in exchange for his important information. But as the court heard this week, Carl Williams never got the chance to take that information further. He was killed last year in Victoria's highest security prison, and a jury has seen graphic footage of his death. In a Melbourne court, the trial of the man accused of killing Carl Williams is playing out very publicly. But the details the jury is hearing are all about life inside this secretive building, the highest security prison in Victoria, the Acacia unit of Barwon Prison. 3 men shared a cell block called Unit 1. There was Carl Williams, the gangland boss, convicted of multiple murders and sentenced to 35 years in jail. Tommy Ivanovic, his friend and godfather to Williams's young daughter, Dakota. And Matthew Johnson, also considered a friend and ally by Carl Williams. But the jury heard that friendship soured. Johnson is charged with murdering Carl Williams in April last year. The jury was shown CCTV vision taken from within the Acacia unit of Barwon Prison on the day Carl Williams died, and it's chilling to watch. You can see Carl Williams sitting at a table reading a newspaper in the day room that he shared with Matthew Johnson and Tommy Ivanovic. You can see a pool table, a ping pong table and the adjoining cells. But then you see Matthew Johnson appear behind an oblivious Carl Williams, brandishing the metal stem of an exercise bike. He hits him to the head, knocking him to the floor, and then rains 7 very heavy blows on Williams, killing him. Johnson then drags Williams to a nearby cell by the ankles and returns and covers the area that's covered in blood with a white towel. There are no guards present throughout the whole video, and the court heard that Matthew Johnson and Tommy Ivanovic then walked laps of the exercise yard for nearly half an hour before alerting prison guards to Williams' death. All this in Victoria's highest security prison. Matthew Johnson is an imposing figure in the dock, tall and well-built, with a cleanly shaven head. His lawyers don't dispute their client killed Carl Williams. But defence lawyer Bill Stewart told the court Johnson killed because he feared Carl Williams was about to kill him. Mr Stewart told the jury the day before Carl Williams died, Tommy Ivanovic had told his cellmate Matthew Johnson that Carl Williams intended to kill Johnson using pool balls in a sock. The prosecution tells a different story that, if proven, takes this tale far beyond a dispute between cellmates. Today in court, a homicide detective gave evidence that Matthew Johnson was filmed reading a newspaper article about a case of defensive homicide in the weeks before Carl Williams died. George Williams is the father of Carl Williams. He told the court he had a close relationship with his son. They even did time together in Barwon Prison. With them was Matthew Johnson.
I got on with him pretty well. I didn't ask him about his business. Carl was getting along with him good. Carl and Matty talked about the police corruption stuff regularly. There was no disagreement about what Carl was doing, and as time went on, Matty agreed with what Carl was doing.
What Carl Williams was doing, according to the prosecution, was talking to a specialised police task force. He was talking about police corruption. The prosecution says Williams had inside knowledge about a murder case, and he was negotiating with police about what he could get in return for helping with that case. This is part of George Williams' statement to police.
He had asked the opinions of a few of us to what he should do about telling about police corruption. It was myself, his mother and Roberta that he asked for advice. He also spoke to a family friend. Everyone suggested that he was doing the right thing in December 2008. I was taken out of prison to where Carl was, at a location out of jail. Carl was assisting in police corruption. He was with the police. We're out for approximately 10 days.
The court heard Carl Williams was taken out of prison a second time to talk to the police 2 months before he died. After that, George Williams said his son seemed somewhat hesitant about helping Matthew Johnson out financially. And he was struggling to contact the police he was talking to. George Williams, who acted as a go-between, said he'd rung the detective handling Carl Williams 5 or 6 times in the month before his son's death and couldn't make contact.
Carl was disappointed because they'd changed the arrangement that they'd promised. He was a bit worried that it might get out that he'd spoken to the police. Before Carl went out, he'd explained to Matty why he was going out. And as he had to live with Matty, he thought it was best to explain it to him. He was okay with Matty, as he'd been in with him before. He felt that he still had to assure Matty that he went out for police corruption. Matty doesn't like people who give evidence against others.
Barrister Shane Tyrrell gave evidence that in exchange for cooperating with police, Carl Williams hoped to get his minimum 35-year sentence reduced by up to 10 years. He also hoped to get a $1 million reward for helping solve a murder. Even though Carl Williams was willingly talking to police, the court heard he was worried about the consequences. The jury was told people who talk to police are known in prison as dogs. And Carl Williams was particularly worried about prison guards. They knew he was talking to police and he didn't trust them. He was also worried about his name appearing in newspaper articles and about the fact that he was talking to police being made public. As he was attacked, Carl Williams was reading a newspaper. He featured on the front page a story saying police were paying the school fees of his daughter and helping pay the $750,000 tax bill his father George Williams owed. The court heard that story was true. Today, a Barwon prison guard, Brendan Butler, told the court he delivered that very newspaper to Carl Williams. He said to him, "Front page today." Carl Williams replied, "Page 1 today, page 5 tomorrow." The guard said Williams seemed okay, but just a few hours later, the inmate was dead. Brendan Butler told the court there was a guard whose job it was to watch live footage from CCTV cameras within the Acacia unit. But the first guards were alerted to Williams's death was about 25 minutes after it happened. And the trial continues next week, and we will be covering it the whole way through.